Hello, everyone. This is Wes Miller with Pigskins and Pageantry, a podcast dedicated to all things SEC football and proud member of Blue Wire Hustle. Join me, Jesse, and Matt each week as we discuss last week's games, news around the league, predictions for next week's matchups, and more. And what's up, everybody? A intense rivalry week is in the books, and I think intense may be putting it mildly. There were so many crazy games, and we'll get into every bit of it, including the latest CFP rankings, the Coaching Carousel, which is in absolute full swing right now, and then some. And as always, to discuss it with me, Jesse, what's going on?
I'm just so thrilled I didn't have to make a visit to the cardiologist this week. That was a legitimate concern. So we're here. We are unwell, but we're here.
Here but unwell. That's like the story of my life. Matt, what's going on?
Not much. Just trying to figure out how in the world we only managed to put up hold on. We only put up 45 points on Vanderbilt. I was looking for that 50 burger. I didn't get it. And then I have feelings. Lots and lots of feelings about the Bama game, but we'll get to that shortly.
Lots of feelings. We're gonna try to keep it civil. Anyway, let's go ahead and get into those rivalry games.
Always remember, if you ain't first, you're last.
All right, well, the first game we'll talk about was the Egg Bowl, Ole Miss at Mississippi State. Ole Miss took this one 31-21. Jesse was the only one to pick Ole Miss, so she gets the point in this one. As I sat on the couch visiting family in Alabama, this, for me, was like a story of missed opportunities. I mean, I just sat there and we watched them miss field goals. We watched them drop touchdown passes. I think there was like 3 on the same drive. It may have been even the same set of downs, 3 drops. And the one went through, I can't remember the receiver, but went through his hands, doinked right off the helmet. And so, yeah, it would just what could have been is what Mississippi State is saying right now. Hats off to Ole Miss for doing what they needed to do, but I'm sure that Mississippi State is kicking themselves for those. Jesse, let's start with you first on this one. What was your thoughts on the Egg Bowl?
I was so glad I picked Ole Miss. So happy, but it doesn't matter apparently as we get down to the pick'em standings. No, I mean, Ole Miss, it was high risk, high reward. They did what they needed to do. This game was by no means a pretty game, but they won a school record, not a season, like a school record of 10 regular season games. And they wrapped up second place in the SEC West. So that's exciting for them, especially knowing how they were trending the past couple of years. So hats off to them for that. A New Year's Six appearance could happen for sure. And then, Matt Corral, for those that are not aware, he declared for the NFL draft. And then a lot of people are saying that he's still a dark horse for the Heisman. So who could say, but we will say later. And then for Mississippi State, I know this is disappointing, especially in a rivalry game that is so charged with emotion. It has been very emotionally charged in the past couple of years, especially. But this is good for Mike Leach's second season. I think they did a lot better than anybody anticipated they would do at the beginning of the season. We all thought it was going to be just straight trash. And they've actually done decently well. They've beat number 14 Texas A&M, number 24 North Carolina State, and winning 4 of their last 6 starts. That's not bad for a team that people had really low expectations for. And Rodgers passed for 300 plus yards for the 10th time this season. So again, trending upwards, though they lost. A lot of positivity. Now, the doink on the face, that did make me think of the double doink field goal in Chicago a little bit. It was reminiscent.
Right. Matt, your thoughts on the Egg Bowl?
I was disappointed. I wanted Leach to win. Well, I don't know. I kind of went back and forth because, Ole Miss getting 10 wins for the first time in their history is a pretty big deal. But I wanted Leach to get that W. It makes them look a little bit better. 8-4 sounds a lot better than 7-5. But it is what it is. Lane Kiffin has turned Ole Miss into a pretty big SEC West powerhouse, finishing second in what is it, his third year in Ole Miss? It might be his second year.
Second or third, I cannot remember.
He ain't been there a while, and he's turned them into a contender. I've been real impressed with what he's managed to pull off. I'm looking forward to what both Mississippi State and Ole Miss are going to look like in the coming years. Bama's going to have a little bit of competition, not just out of A&M, and potentially LSU if they ever get their act together.
Did you guys think at one point that Lane Kiffin, it was towards the end of the game, it might have been in the last quarter, but at one point there was a scuffle on the field between the players, and Lane came out there and started like yelling at the Mississippi State players? It looked as though he was taunting them. And I was like, Lane.
I'm sure Lane
is for him.
I'm sure Lane is full of brand. I'm sure he's full of one-liners.
Well, for someone that could handle Tennessee throwing things at him and just be like, right. He gets on the field and he's like, I'm going to taunt Mississippi State.
Right.
Lane.
And then when they come at him, he can just like throw his hands up and be like, what are you talking about, man?
I was like, honey, what is you doing?
There was a spot there where he got real fired up on the sideline and tried to get the crowd into it. I do remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But that was a great game. I mean,
it was.
You got, 29 total points in the fourth quarter? So, I mean, it came down to the wire.
Yeah, it was a good one. It was Thanksgiving evening, so you're in turkey coma, just hanging out, watching football. So, all right, and then the following day was Mizzou versus Arkansas. That's the Battle Line rivalry. Arkansas squishing Mizzou. With the visual there from Matt, 34-17. Matt getting the point as well in this one. So Arkansas finishes the regular season 8-4. 4-4 in the conference for their best season since 2011, and only 2 seasons removed from the worst 2 seasons in school history. They were 3-0 in trophy games this year. In the previous 5 seasons, they hadn't won a single trophy game. Defensive coordinator Barry Odom also, just kind of a cherry on top here, celebrated his 45th birthday with a win against his old team, and the defensive captains who had been given the game ball in turn gave it to him. So kind of a nice evening for him on top of the win. So Matt, let's start with you this time. What were your thoughts on Arkansas squishing Mizzou?
Well, let's before we get into that, I want to go back several years and talk about how when they hired Sam Pittman, all of us were highly confused. This is a guy that had never had a coordinator spot. He had never coached, been a head coach in any other program that we were aware of. And this was a hire that puzzled all 3 of us. Here we are a couple of years later, and Arkansas's, got 8 wins on the season. They're finishing in the top 25. They look like they're trending upward. So apparently Sam Pittman knows what he's doing, and we were fools to ever doubt him. Because let's be honest, it's hard to recruit to Fayetteville. You don't have, you're competing with Texas A&M, LSU. You're competing with all those schools, Memphis and the rest of them. And Pittman has turned Arkansas into, I don't want to say mid-tier SEC West team, but they're up there. I thought this was a good win for them. It was nice to see Barry Odom get a little bit of revenge because everybody knows how I feel about Missouri. And Coach
on
Drinky.
his birthday.
On his birthday.
By the way, I want to talk about Coach Drinky talking junk before the game, and then they got squashed. So
he's no stranger to that.
Well, that's true. But again, proves my point that Drinky's a little bit of an idiot. So yeah, I thought this was a pretty good game. Arkansas stayed out front and never really looked back. Missouri couldn't do a whole lot. They went 7 for 19 on third down in this game, which is a pretty atrocious stat. Not a lot to look at as far as that goes. Connor Bazelak goes 10 for 26 for 65 yards and an interception. Rough game for him. Again, we talked about it a couple weeks ago, that regression. We thought Connor Bazelak was going to look better this year. He has not. And we're just in a situation where you're just kind of looking at Missouri going, what's happened? Now, Tyler Beatty, on the other hand, had 41 carries for 219 yards. So he had a decent game, just couldn't put it in the end zone. So
he's been the bright spot on that team this year, I think.
He has been. He has been. And I don't know what class he's in. Let me see if ESPN tell me if I click on him. He's a senior, so he's got to be up there. You know, he had 1,600 yards on the year, 14 touchdowns. He's averaging 6 yards a carry. So he's got to be thinking maybe somebody needs a running back in the NFL, especially with the ones that are always banged up. Looking at you, Ezekiel Elliott. So he's got a shot. We'll have to see where he ends up, but that could be interesting.
Right. And possibly extra motivation to move on with Mizzou having their struggles. So,
I don't know if he would get an extra year because of the COVID stuff. I think.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
Maybe.
And I know he's.
I think everybody got an extra year.
Yeah, everybody did, and that's the only reason that I say that. But I'm sure he'll go ahead and go on.
I mean, to put it in perspective, Mizzou only had 316 yards of total offense. He was 219 of those.
Of that, yeah.
Just him. Just that guy.
What were your thoughts on the game as a whole?
I mean, yay for Odom getting a nice little birthday present on his 45th birthday. Nonetheless, they had given the game ball, Pittman did, to his senior defensive captains, and they ended up giving it to Coach Odom. So I think that's very sweet. But again, I sound like a broken record. Mizzou. Going down. It's going down, but
regression.
Not in the good way.
Right.
The
bad
term,
way.
Jesse, regression.
It's like there was like a bell curve where they were like, and then they got to the SEC and it was like, whoa, and then it went. Boom.
You know, the last time we used the word regression on this show, a coach got fired. However, he's the one who beat that coach that got fired. So that's why I think Drinky has retained his job. So, and also expectations at Mizzou are a little bit less in Florida.
I don't think they're going to get in a situation where they're going to fire Drinky anytime soon. They just hired him last year, I think.
Right, and he was thrilled to be at the Sun Belt Conference.
Yeah.
So,
God, I had forgotten about that. It's so bad.
They finished the regular season at 500 for the third straight year. I think we have to. It's one of those things like we talked about either last week or a couple weeks ago. Is that okay? Is that good enough, or are we having too high of expectations?
I don't think so.
I don't either. And for this particular team and instance, I think you look at it and you say, like, they started out pretty good. They were trending upwards, and now it's just like, ew.
I think that they'll give him next year. I don't know that they'll fire him after next year, but they're going to have to seriously have that conversation if things don't improve, because as we've said, things moving in the wrong direction. They were.
I wonder what his buyout is.
I'm not sure, and I'm not sure what kind of, what kind of money they're looking at there as well. Obviously, I know boosters pretty much anywhere can throw stuff together pretty quick, but I don't know what the situation looks like there.
I can imagine the buyout at Missouri is probably not that expensive.
Right.
Yeah.
Surely.
No offense.
I mean, they got the guy at Appalachian State. It's not like they went and got coordinator from Notre Dame.
Right. Right.
Cool.
Wait, does Notre Dame get rid of coaches? Oh, wait. That's right. They do.
A little foreshadowing there.
Yeah, we'll get to the rocket fueled coaching carousel this year.
That's it. All right, let's
live for this.
I know,
nuclear,
right?
Baby.
Let's talk about Georgia Tech. Clean old fashioned. Hey, Georgia won 45-0. Matt got the point here. I'm not going to belabor this because I'm not going to gloat, because it's what should have happened against a Georgia Tech team that hasn't been able to really close that gap under head coach Jeff Collins. One concern would be injury. Kyrus Jackson went out with a rib injury in the first quarter. Not really sure of status on that. However, on the other side of that coin, George Pickens made his much anticipated return with a reception in the third quarter. So Pickens is back, and that is huge for Georgia if he can contribute. So we'll see. Anyway, that's all I have to say. Jesse, your thoughts?
I don't know how many of you guys watched America's Next Top Model, but if you did, You are very familiar with this next phrase. I was rooting for you. We were all rooting for you. Georgia Tech, I'm looking at you. I'm looking at you.
Jesse,
You
what are
had
you
no
talking about? They
chance.
didn't have a chance in hell of winning that ball game.
I
Me,
know.
you two, and 8 other people could line up and do a better job than Georgia Tech did against Georgia.
I know. And that brings me to my next question. Can we still call it good old-fashioned or clean old-fashioned hate? Because at this point, it just seems like a regular season snooze fest.
I think there's a lot of hate in the history, not necessarily recently. I'm sure that'll be rekindled at some point, but who knows when that will be.
I hope it's in our lifetime.
I don't know. I mean, Georgia Tech actually used to be pretty good. In the early '90s, they were really good.
They have a national championship that's been more recent than Georgia.
I know.
So, by the way, guys, I wanted to pull it up just because I'm curious. In the all-time series, Georgia leads 69 wins, 69 wins for them. Georgia Tech has 41 wins and 5 ties. So they would have to win the next 28 years straight to tie up the record. So it's not looking good.
Yay.
So, yeah.
But I mean, I'm not going to say I hate it. So, all right, Matt, did you have anything else to say on that one?
No, there's nothing to talk about this ball game.
I agree. I just figured I want to give you the floor, sir. I don't want to take that away from you. Okay.
We all knew that Georgia Tech was going to get their rear end kicked, and that's exactly what happened.
Right.
This is a team that struggles to win ball games in the ACC, so
which is down as a whole this year.
Oh God, yeah, the ACC is looking awful. Fact of the matter is that Georgia did what a national title contender should do. They came in. They cleaned house. They pitched a shutout in the ball game. Georgia Tech had 166 total yards in this game. That's exactly what should have happened, especially with the defense that's allegedly as dominant as Georgia's is.
You see, Jesse, I think you have a mountain goat there in your house.
Oh, I didn't see the dog.
I tried so hard not to laugh.
Very professional, Jesse. We're a professional podcast. What are you doing?
I love it.
This is what happens when I'm on work calls. The cat ignores me the whole day. And then the moment I get on video, she's like, oh, hello.
That's the way it works.
That's it. All right, moving on to the Sunshine Showdown. Florida State at Florida. We were actually in Gainesville the day before this game. We went to PDQ. Anyway, that's besides the point. Florida won this one 24-21. Matt was the only one to pick Florida, so naturally he gets the point.
Noticing a trend.
After Emory Jones struggled with some turnovers in this game, Anthony Richardson came in the game, and he seemed to breathe some life into that offense. Helped them get to a 24-7 lead in the fourth quarter. FSU tried to mount a comeback, but late when they were trying to do an onside kick, the kicker actually almost whiffed on the onside kick, trying to get that perfect angle, and the ball just barely came off the tee there. So anyway, that didn't work, and that ended their chances. Florida's Greg Knox, who was a special teams coordinator, right? Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
I think so, yeah.
He gets the victory against their rivals as interim coach. So, Matt, what are your thoughts on the Sunshine Showdown?
This is probably the only time you'll ever hear me say this, but I'm glad that Florida won this one. Simply because I was looking to make up some points and I had to break from the group, and I just happened to guess right. Emory, I'm trying to figure out what in the world's gone on with Emory Jones. He's had his struggles this season, but against an FSU team that's down this year, you would hope they'd be able to compete a little bit, and he looked rough. Luckily, they were able to bring in Anthony Richardson to get a little bit of help, and he ended up putting up decent numbers, but not fantastic numbers. But kudos for Florida representing the SEC, getting a win over an ACC team. It seemed to be the trend on Saturday to beat those ACC cross-state rivals. So, yeah, kudos to the Gators. Now comes the fun part where we find out who their new head coach is.
Yeah, and the winner of this game is going to a bowl game. This game decided that. So
that's true.
And the SEC, I believe we tied our own record with the most teams that are in bowl games.
This was
13 out of
12?
14.
13 out of 14.
Poor
Who
Vandy.
Vandy.
didn't make it?
Poor Vandy.
Didn't oh, that's right. Vandy. No.
Anyway, Jesse, what'd you think about this one?
Yeah, the Seminoles have now lost 3 in a row to Florida for the first time since Bobby Bowden and Urban Meyer were roaming the sidelines.
Rest in peace, Bobby.
Just woof. This is not great for recruiting. It's hard to get better when you can't recruit better because you're not getting better.
It's a cycle.
Very difficult. It's a cycle.
But
the Gators,
I feel like you should be making greeting cards for Hallmark.
I really should.
You really missed your calling there.
I know. If someone wants to offer me a freelance gig, I will accept. But I think
But only
the
for
interesting
SEC
thing
coaches. Greeting
only
cards.
SEC coaches and players.
Get
That's
better.
all I got.
Recruit better. Be better.
But the interesting thing is you brought up with coaching is people are waiting to see. They asked after the game what Richardson was going to do if he was going to transfer, knowing that Mullen's out, and all he said is, "I'm a Gator," which is not a very, it's a very generic answer.
Right.
But I'm very interested to see if he starts lighting up the transfer portal, because we've already started to see that looking at you, Oklahoma, and Lincoln Riley, who's now no longer going to be there.
Did you guys see the player tweets, by the way?
No.
So USC tweeted a quote by Lincoln Riley. It says, "This place is going to be the mecca of college football." And a bunch of OU players replied to that tweet and said, "Yeah, he told us the same thing last week."
The shade. I am living for it. Oh my God. I'm living for it.
It was savage. You want to talk about savage, man? That is just brutal.
Ooh, there is some cheese on that fastball. Holy cow!
Oh my gosh!
I love that.
It's like a breakup.
I love it. We're gonna get to the carousel stuff in a bit. I'm going all in on the coaching carousel this year, but
there's so many to talk about. That's the crazy thing.
We'll talk about it.
Love it.
Yeah,
but
we'll get there.
But that was my thing, is I'm just interested to see what Richardson does, because Emory Jones, I don't know how to help, and I don't know that it's going to get better. And if Richardson decides that he's going to pack his bags and go to, now apparently he could go to OU. There's an open spot now, and a lot of SEC quarterbacks have gone there. I don't know.
Yep.
They'll be in the SEC next year. So what are you worried about?
That's true.
Right.
I read something the other day that said that the SEC is looking to do whatever they can
to expedite
the process, buy out contracts for TV stations or what have you, to get Oklahoma and Texas into the conference now.
Man, what kind of rearranging would have to be done?
They would have
schedule-wise too.
I don't even want to think about what they're going to have to do for pod scheduling. It's going to be Tennessee and Georgia and Alabama in one pod, never winning anything ever again. Anyway,
that's crazy. Anyway,
I want to do that.
I know.
I'm not a fan. I really feel like 16 teams is too much, but we'll talk about that later too.
All right, let's talk about the Iron Bowl, Alabama at Auburn, from Jordan-Hare Stadium. The score was 24-22. That was the final score. Jesse got the point in this one because she picked the closest. And I think I said, Jesse, if it's that close, I hope you have some fingernails left. And it was actually even closer than that. So
I know. I told you I wouldn't be well. I would not be well.
So
I swear that's on my notes.
Yeah, I mean, so let me just get my quick little thought out of the way, and then we'll go straight to you, Jess, and then Matt, your thoughts as well. So, honestly, in watching this game, which, by the way, both of these teams combined in regulation didn't score as many points as Vanderbilt did on Saturday. Just throwing that out there. I don't know what that means.
What does that say about Tennessee's defense?
I don't know if that really means anything, but it's just fun to say. Anyway, but
good
yeah,
for Vandy. Good for Vandy.
Again, Auburn. I don't want to say that this is like a characteristic of this team, but we've seen it so many times where they have the game and they let it get away from them. That said, I know TJ Finley got hurt in this game. He continued to play. and his teammates having to help him off the turf a lot, and he hobbling around. So props to him. I mean, that was a great performance. One thing that I thought was interesting, obviously this one ended in overtime, the first overtime in Iron Bowl history, by the way. For them. And then it's like people are already handing Bryce Young the Heisman. And in this year, with all the craziness, I don't know that I can argue with that. And we can talk about that or whatever, but it is interesting that there a lot of people, at least I think, and they do the clickbait stuff. I think CBS had that. Go ahead and hand him the Heisman. But I don't know. We'll see what the conversation is surrounding that. I want to play Saban's relief after the game.
Yeah.
And then Jesse, let's hear what you had. What your thoughts?
Coach, we talked at halftime about how challenging this game was going for you guys, but in the end, how much pride do you have in the execution you just saw from your team?
I can't tell you. I can't put it into words. I mean, for the guys to keep fighting like they did and to have the 90-some yard drive to tie the game up to get it in overtime. But I tell you what, the players, I'm so proud of the way they competed in the game and fought. We said that's what we wanted to do at halftime, and I couldn't be prouder of them. I mean, it was unbelievable.
You addressed your team several times during some very emotional moments during the game. What were you saying to them in those moments?
Well, I was really just trying to get our guys to just focus on executing. I think they were a little bit out of sorts, and I could kind of see it in their eyes. So I just wanted them to go play. I told them to have fun at halftime. I said, just go have fun, man. Quit worrying about the result and let's just go have fun.
At what point did that become fun for you?
When we caught the ball.
I'll let you go celebrate, Coach. Congratulations.
Matt, I couldn't read that. I thought it said he's returning. I was like,
he's retiring.
What?
The man
No, I got
is
it.
broken.
I got it
He's
eventually.
broken. That is not Nick Saban.
Hey guys, just have fun. What? Who is
Yeah,
this?
my
He's
dad
done.
and I both
He's
go,
finished.
I don't think that's exactly what he said, but I don't think he can say what he said.
Probably so. Anyway,
Listen, I already know which way the wind on this is blowing. You watch it now. Bama wins the SEC championship. Sorry, Wes. Bama wins the SEC championship. They win the last national championship that he needs to win. He retires at the end of the year. Dabo Swinney takes over as head coach of Alabama next season. He's
Not
retiring.
next season.
He's
Not next
done.
season.
He's
He said
done.
he's got 5 more years.
He's done. He's done. Listen to the man. Listen to how he talks. Listen to the vernacular he's using through the entire season. Let's have fun. We're having fun. Football is fun.
Let's not worry about the mental lapses.
That is not Nick Saban.
Maybe it's
who's
not
winning
Nick Saban.
football games and throttling everybody. Like that's not.
Maybe it's like
not.
the whole conspiracy about Paul McCartney. The fall McCartney
Oh,
thing.
Paul McCartney. Yeah. Paul.
Maybe it's not
Fake
actually
Paul.
Nick Saban. Maybe it's Rick
It's a great
Saban.
conspiracy
Oh,
documentary.
God.
It's called Paul McCartney is Really Dead. Highly suggest. It's great.
Look, guys.
Anyway, we're not getting into
Sorry.
the Nick Saban
Conspiracy.
conspiracy theories.
yeah. Anyway, Jesse, your thoughts on the Iron Bowl?
I have a lot. Not even all of them
Shocker.
are not even written. They're just not. First of all, unwell, as I've said. You mentioned it. It's the first overtime in Iron Bowl history, and we have been playing this game since 1892, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe 1893.
Long time.
A very long time. So to put it into perspective, for those that for some reason did not tune in at all, we were trailing Auburn 10-0 until midway through the fourth quarter. And there are a lot of reasons for that. The main one is our offensive line. Hello. We had to play 2 right tackles in this game because both of them are not great. Every single play getting beat.
Banged up.
Getting beat. Everybody getting beat. Horrible.
And that's going to be a clip of Jesse just going, getting beat.
It's horrible. Even I was reading some of the articles. They said the offensive line, they said that a lot of the mistakes can be attributed to the big uglies up front on the offensive line. I was like, ooh, that's a little mean. But I get the sentiment because I've talked about it in the past couple games. Bill O'Brien, I was so excited by the rumor that you were leaving this morning. And then I was crushed. I was crushed because you're staying. Terrible play calling. Awful, horrible, terrible. The worst. Bryce Young. And I know, I've read it. Everybody and their mother seems to think he deserves a Heisman. I don't. Here I am. Listen to me. I understand you're all about to get upset with me, Bama Nation. But listen, I have my reasons, okay? I think he is a naturally talented and gifted player. And I've said that before. Throwing that deep ball, absolutely. However, the stats are great. He's got great wide receivers as well. But we cannot always throw the deep ball. We can't, because look what happens when people blitz us. It happened with Texas A&M, and then after it was successful with them, every single team blitzes us, just all over us. We don't blitz anybody. Looking at you, Golding. We don't blitz anybody. But they stack the box, and we have so much pressure. Our offensive line cannot hold, cannot give Bryce time. And Bryce, look at it. It's RPO. And he's just like, he gets out there. It's like he goes in. He only knows that he could throw to one receiver. He zeroes in on that guy. And if that guy can't get open, he doesn't know what to do. He scrambles. He gets sacked. He's not smart with the football when he has to scramble. He doesn't throw it away. And that's when we get in times where it kind of looks like there could be some intentional grounding. I understand. I saw it. I was there. I saw it. Or he just gets sacked and we lose like 16 yards. So no, I do not think he is the game manager that Alabama has had in their quarterback's past. I do not think he is. His stats are incredible. Absolutely. I can't deny that. But when it comes to the perspective of a guy that can actually manage the game, I do not think he is that guy. Because also, I know it was loud in Jordan Hare. I know it was. I could hear it on the TV. But delay of game, get it together. Get it together. That's my Bryce Young moment.
Didn't they get one? They got a delay of game right after the kickoff once, didn't they?
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. How do you do that? You know what you're going to do, honey. You know. And then I can't remember what quarter it was. He changed the play last minute. I think Brian Robinson was still in, and you saw B-Rob change sides, and then we couldn't do anything. Also, Brian's grandson, Tyson, I'm looking at you, Paul Tyson.
Ooh.
Messing up the you had one hold. We could have scored a field goal, and you just not okay with that either. Basically, with 24 seconds left in regular time, we scored a touchdown. Finally, 24 seconds left in regular time. You can imagine everyone was not doing well at this point. Things were getting bad. Then we go into the 4 overtimes. And I know, Gary, we heard you. We heard you about 16 different times. Tank Bigsby, with 2 minutes left and 2 timeouts remaining, stepped out of bounds, and there could have been 40 seconds wasted off the clock. We heard it. We were there.
Paul
we want to know it
Feinbaum
didn't.
was talking about that. He's like, he was thrown out of bounds. He had no choice. He wasn't, whatever.
But
anyway.
Also, the thing is, and I know that as commentators, you're like looking for things to talk about.
Yeah.
But at some point, you have to stop saying, well, if we would have just, if we would have just scored some points in regular time, we wouldn't have been there either. You can't just be like, we could have just. Also, we all hate Gary Danielson. We all do. We just all do. It's fine.
I had a very mean tweet about Gary during that game. What did I say?
Oh, please find. Please
I know.
find
I saw it. I don't remember it verbatim.
Brian Robinson, though, I haven't heard much on his injury. He was taken out of the game, which is very, very scary. Very, very scary. We'll see if he comes back. My other thing is I wish we would have blitzed. I wish we would have gotten even more pressure on TJ Finley because he was a limp for the last half.
Right.
Playing his foot. We knew he wasn't going to throw a deep ball. We know he's going to pass it off to somebody. But okay. Again, I'm not happy with our coordinators. I have a lot of feelings about them, and I would like them both to leave.
You were so sad when you found out they weren't going to poach.
Oh my God.
Jesse, you didn't pay attention to any of that conversation Nicky Boy had on like Friday night, did you? Thursday night.
Are you talking about
his little tirade?
About the fans who aren't happy with winning. It has to.
I heard it, and I know he was talking to me. I'm not upset with. I'm upset with the coordinator.
Guys, listen, if Bama ever goes back to like 1999, 2000 Bama, Jesse might die. She might die.
Please don't. I survived those years. I can't do it again.
Like the Mike DeBose, Mike Price, Shula era.
Shula, it's all the Mikes.
Yeah.
Well, we get a Mike coach.
They Auburn seemed to have like the right scheme on defense, and you know who their coordinator
Derek
is on
Mason
defense.
did incredible.
Yep.
Was
Derek
their
Mason
coordinator? He got fired, didn't he?
Derek Mason?
No. I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the offensive coordinator at Mike Bobo. Bobo got canned, didn't he?
I'm not sure. I haven't heard that, but I'm not sure.
I saw that story.
If it is breaking news,
he got fired. That news came out yesterday.
Okay,
Auburn,
I hadn't heard that
Tigers
one.
defense coordinator Mike Bobo out after just one season.
Guy didn't even get a chance to unpack his stuff, man. So
hopefully not.
Hope he was renting an apartment, not buying a house.
Right.
No, Derek Mason called a fantastic game for the most part. They let up on pass rush in overtime, and started to play a little bit more conservatively, and that's where we were able to come back.
That prevent defense, it'll get you every time.
Defense. I do want to say, and this is one of my other big things. I know everyone's tweeted it, they've Facebooked it, they've Instagrammed it, they've texted their mom, brother, and cousin. Bama pays the refs. Bama gets all of the calls. You're wrong. No.
Wrong.
Perspective for those that were curious. Crimson Tide finished the game with 11 penalties for 129 yards. Tigers for 53 yards. Do you want to know how many times they were holding? Every time. And I know everybody holds on every play. Everybody holds. Yeah. I get it. There's going to be some holding. A lot of holding. That first PI call that never got called when he was literally ripping our guy's jersey. Didn't get that one either. So if people get mad that maybe some intentional grounding didn't get necessarily called on Bryce Young, hate it for you. If you think that towards the end that was PI, you missed the part where he was grabbing his arm.
Yeah.
That's my feelings. I could probably talk about this for another 35 minutes.
Just get it all out. Yeah.
I talked about it at church the next day. I did. To the pastor.
Yeah. Well, yeah. As I say, he's a Bama fan too, so you guys can commiserate. So yeah.
We could.
Yeah.
We could. Okay. But roll Tide.
So we had a little bit of listener comment on this. So Mick Kirkwood said, how does Bama always manage to escape disaster? Because Jimbo showed that they can be beat, but apparently nobody else is watching and they still think it can't be done. Matt, what were your thoughts on?
I'm shocked we didn't escape disaster. Or we did escape disaster.
I'm gonna go ahead and attack this head on. Okay.
Yeah.
Bama shouldn't have won this game.
Okay.
They had no business whatsoever winning this football game. For 4 quarters, they should not have won this football game. However, when you're running to the sideline and you're trying to milk the clock and you go out of bounds, granted, he may have been thrown, whatever. I don't care. As a running back, you got to do everything in your power to stay in bounds on that play. I really feel that that's probably where things went awry. The other thing, that drive, was it 98 yards that last drive that Bama had? 98 yards.
90, 98, yeah.
It was a long drive. I remember that. I don't know how in the world or why in the world you stop sending linebackers and safety blitzes and the corner blitzes. And I don't know why you stop when you've been doing it the entire game. And now you've got 3 deep and you're trying to keep. The only reason that happened is because they switched how they were playing, and it cost them in the end. I know that this was a poorly officiated game. I think we can all agree there was a lot of really bad officiating in that game.
On par.
That touchdown pass at the end, I felt like should have been a flag. I felt like that was
regular
offensive pass
time
interference.
Or
no, the one at the very end, the one that tied it up. The one to send it
so regular time, not OT, not OT.
Right. Yeah. The big Hail Mary shot in the corner, which wide receiver was that? I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But anyway, that kid made a heck of a play to get that ball because Bryce didn't really put it where he could get to it easy, but he managed to make a play on it. But I feel like that was a push off. And I know, and I've watched that clip like 19 times. And I feel like there's enough extension there where it busted up the momentum of that DB. Now, was the DB holding? Yes, they were probably chicken fighting like wide receivers and and DBs do. However, I don't know how you keep your flag in your pocket on that play. I get letting them play. I understand that, but I don't know. I really felt like that should have been an Auburn win. Auburn should have shocked them. That should have been it.
We thought it was. I mean, my sister was texting me with 2 minutes left, and she was like, "I can't believe we lost." Blah blah blah, and I was like, "I know it's embarrassing."
And then overtime, it just went completely to crap because I don't know what happened at overtime because I don't know. Auburn only had 100 and hold on, let me pull up the stat line. Had 159 yards total offense.
Yeah,
there's a reason Mike Bobo got
I was going to say.
Yeah.
And it's just,
they shut down our running game. We only had 64 rushing yards.
Well, listen, Auburn couldn't do anything on the ground either. I mean, Bigsby only had 63 yards on 30 carries. Mm-hmm. He couldn't get nothing going. Kudos to Bama's defensive line because they were in the backfield every time you turned around.
I will say, and we've talked about it, I feel like the past couple of weeks, how Bama's defense is just not where it used to be. It's not the defense of Bama's past. I feel like they really stepped up this game. Really stepped up. Now, if we can only get our offensive line to step up.
I mean, I'm looking at the stat line, and Bama had 15 tackles for loss in this game.
Will Anderson for Heisman.
What? Who that?
That's why, because the poor defense, they don't never get recognition. So
unless they're going up against a quarterback from the University of Tennessee. I'm never letting that go. It's a stupid trophy. We should have won it.
It is a stupid trophy, but they have really good commercials.
That was over 20 years ago, Matt.
You know why those? No. Hold on. Their commercials are stupid, and I'll tell you why they're stupid.
Oh, the
got
Heisman
Tim
House.
Tebow in them, and I'm done. I don't need to see Tim Tebow anymore. I need him to go do missionary work somewhere off in Botswana, so I don't have to see him no more. Hate that guy.
Is that a formal request? I need Tim Tebow to go.
I'm not going to say.
Some people wanted him to be the next head coach of Florida.
Oh, let him. He has no experience whatsoever.
I heard that.
I saw it.
Go for it.
Well, that did not happen, as we'll talk about in a second. But yeah, an interesting game for sure. And look at us. We made it through without a fight.
We made it through.
All right.
There's no fight. I mean, me and Jesse both agree that we have differing opinions on the whole Bama gets the calls. I
was fully prepared to say, ladies and gentlemen, I believe what Jesse and Matt are trying to say is the SEC officiating is garbage. So. And we all know this.
This is why we don't record on Sundays. Like, this is why we don't record on Sundays. I need my time.
If we had recorded this episode like 2 hours after that game, me and Jesse probably would have ended up in a screaming match.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
Yeah, it always helps to have some time to digest the feelings and everything.
That's what I suggest, people, before you post on Facebook, before you call your mom or your brother or whoever it is. Take a day, at least a day and a half.
Or you know what a good strategy is to, if you want to type a post, go ahead, do it. Go ahead and type it out. Type all your paragraphs and your angry thoughts, and then delete it, because it makes you feel good. You got all the anger out, but then you don't actually post it. You should try it.
I do that with emails to clients.
Listen here. Yeah.
And I'm like, never mind. Thank you so much. Circling back. Hope you had a lovely day.
Per my email earlier, which we all know what that's code for.
That's the adult version of, hey, jerk, you ignored me. I want a response.
Exactly.
Happy Friday for the attached.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about Vanderbilt at Tennessee. Tennessee taking them out 45-21. No close one here. Matt getting the point. He was right on the nose, 45-20. I don't have any thoughts on this one because it was a blowout. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to be very gracious in victory here about beating an in-state rival. I'm not going to say 90% of what I'm thinking because it's Vanderbilt and they've had a really rough time of it.
Yeah.
As you can tell by the tone of my voice, I'm being very calm. I'm not going to rub it in their face. It would beat their rear end.
I was waiting.
Oh man,
I was like, he's being really good.
Listen. When we lost to them a couple of years ago, I was seriously considering that we'd never get back to the point where I wouldn't have to worry about a Vanderbilt game anymore, or I'd have to worry about every single Vanderbilt game anymore. This is the first time in a couple of years I've gone into a Vanderbilt game where I've been like, not stressed about this at all. We're going to beat the brakes off them. And we did. We put up 400 plus yards of offense. Hendon Hooker throws for 156 yards, which isn't a lot. Still gets 2 TDs. I'm still pretty happy with the way things turned out. I have no complaints. Both of those TDs were Cedric Tillman, who's the rumors going around. He's not going anywhere. He's coming back for another year. So happy days. Hendon Hooker apparently is coming back for another year as well. So things are looking good on Rocky Top, as long as the people in Norman, Oklahoma stay the heck away from our football coach. You don't come around Rocky Top. You
true.
Stay away. You stay away.
Connections.
Yeah, well, listen, and we'll talk about that when we get to the carousel in a minute, but they best stay away. You go back to Norman. You go find a coordinator at Bama or something.
Jesse got no
I've
problem
got
with
two
that.
you can have. I've got 2.
Oh, man.
Actually, literally, buy one, get one. They're on BOGO.
You can have both of them.
You can take them both.
I don't care.
Oh, man.
You have 2 head coaches. You coach the offense, I'll coach the defense.
It would be so fun.
Yeah. Jess, do you have any thoughts on this one?
No.
Yeah, I don't blame you. All right, let's talk about Texas A&M at LSU. Look at LSU, 27-24, getting the win, and nobody got the point because we were all smart about this one and didn't pick LSU. But man, like LSU, they got off to a fast start and kind of went back and forth there, all the way down to the wire. A&M managed to take the lead for the first time, 24-20, with 7:33 left in the game. But then later, with only 20 seconds left, Max Johnson made a clutch throw to Jeray Jenkins to put the Tigers on top in Coach O's final game with the Tigers. So let's listen to Coach O's thoughts after the game.
Oh, are you kidding me?
These guys kept on fighting, man. And I can't say enough about our football team and our coaching staff. So proud of this team.
Why did this team play for you tonight the way that they did?
It was about 19 seasons. It wasn't about me. I told them this is never going to be about me. This is about the team, one heartbeat. So proud of them.
Jeray Jenkins down the sideline, man-to-man coverage, catches that touchdown. Take us through what you're thinking when you're watching that play.
I felt we were going to make the play the whole time. I thought Jake did a great job of calling the last couple of plays of the game. Give it to the whole team. This is a big team win.
Coach O, give it to me one more time.
Go Tigers.
Guys, I'm not going to lie. That makes me a little sad.
I'm sad.
to know that is probably the final Go Tigers we'll ever hear from Coach O, at least in that context. So, Jesse, what were your thoughts on this game and the win they got for Coach O there?
I'm shook, but the Aggies,
That's an understatement.
right?
Mm-hmm.
They came into this game second in the nation in scoring defense, allowing 14.9 points per game. But LSU overcame it. They had 3 sacks, and they were able, A&M's defensive end had 3 sacks, but they were able to score and gain 412 yards of total offense. Mm-hmm. That's a lot. LSU, they've made changes on their defense, especially, during that bye week in October. Obviously, we saw that it produced a lot of positive changes against Alabama, against Arkansas, and certainly now against A&M. So things are sort of trending up for them, I would say, which is strange to say, knowing that they now, have let go of who the head coach currently is, which we just talked about, which makes me very sad. But yeah, it's insane to see a game kind of play out like this. And I think we talk about it all the time, but anything can happen on any given Saturday in the SEC. And I don't like LSU. I hate LSU with a passion, but I am happy that they were able to win this game for Coach O's last time, because I think it's bittersweet for them. I know the players were working their butts off, but we needed one more Go Tigers.
Right. And I got to say, Coach O stands in an interview with the best of them. They could have just lost like 50-0, and he's going to stand there with a smile on his face and answer the questions. So kudos to him. And he's been that way the whole time throughout this all.
Yeah. He's handled this situation a lot better than I would.
Right. And this is a pretty tidy game too. No turnovers. Matt, what are your thoughts?
I was shocked. Like Jesse just said, well, I think we were all kind of shook when we saw that scoreline, because none of us picked LSU to win this ball game. It's a great ending for Coach O at LSU. We have to hope that there's not going to be stuff that comes out in 6 months, a year and a half that could potentially tarnish those lovely memories. But the fact of the matter is that LSU gets to 6 wins. They get a big win against Texas A&M. And Jimbo Fisher has to be scratching his head wondering where the dream went awry. They finished with 4 losses in the season this year. They've got to be kind of thinking, well, we beat Bama. There's that. But then we lost to 4 other teams. I don't know. A&M's one of those teams that doesn't make any sense to me. I feel like they're so inconsistent. We like to make fun of Auburn for being inconsistent, but A&M's just as bad.
If not worse.
Yeah, you're not wrong. This is a team that lost to a pretty decent Arkansas team in week 5. They lost to Mississippi State in a game they probably shouldn't have lost.
Mm-hmm.
They lose to Ole Miss, which again, Ole Miss is a solid team. And then you lose to LSU, who, and I hate to say this, has been floundering most of the year. So I don't know what's happening with A&M. I know that Jimbo loves being in College Station. He loves the boosters. He loves the city. He loves all that
I would love the boosters too at 10 million.
That's what I'm saying.
He's getting paid really well.
By the way,
I'll go wear Texas A&M colors for $10 million.
Did you guys see the comparison between him and Kevin Sumlin?
So good.
It's eerie. And if anything, Sumlin's record against ranked opponents was better. Have you seen it? I can't remember
I have not seen that.
I can't remember the exact numbers. I'll dig it up. We shared it on our story on Instagram. But yeah, his record is essentially about the same. However, performance against top ranked opponents is not as good as Sumlin, and he's getting paid significantly more.
Sumlin wasn't making as near as much as Jimbo.
No, I want to say it's in the neighborhood of a little bit over a third of what Jimbo is getting paid. So, yeah, it's wild. Anyway,
I'm trying to find it, but
yeah,
not that easy.
Let us know if you do. We'll go ahead and head to Kentucky at Louisville, the Governor's Cup. Kentucky winning this one handily, the 21. Matt getting the point here. If you guys recall, I believe Vegas had Louisville favored by like a point or two in this one. So I'm not really sure what happened there. Oops, I guess. But man, this was an interesting one. Will Levis ran for 4 touchdowns in this game, including a play where he juked one defender and hurdled another. That one was pretty spectacular. Okay, yeah, let me come back to that real quick. But yeah, it's just a huge blowout with 14 of Louisville's points coming in the fourth quarter. So it was even worse and more lopsided than the score looks. Let's pause this real quick. We'll go back to the stats here. So yeah, the regular seasons for Texas A&M in Kevin Sumlin's first 4 years. Okay, 2012 he had 10 wins. 2013 he had 8. 14 he had 7. 15 he had 8 wins. Regular season wins for A&M in Jimbo Fisher's first 4 years. 2018 he had 8 wins. 19 he had 7. 2020 COVID year he had 8 wins, and then 2021 he had 8 wins. I mean, for the money,
right?
Yeah, I don't.
That 2012 year was that was Johnny Manziel.
Right.
They beat us that year. I was there. It was the worst game ever.
Oh, that was just bizarre. So anyway,
you gotta hate it when you fire a guy and the guy you bring in has the exact same record.
Yeah, and then you pay him almost 3 times as much to have that same record.
That must be awful. I can't imagine what that must be like. University of Georgia.
I'm laughing it off, man.
I just didn't say.
It's not.
Kirby Smart is Mark Rick 2.0.
No, you get that checked out.
We never saw a team like this year's team under Mark Richt. I'm sorry, he had some good teams, but we never saw a team like this. And also, Mark Richt never made it to the national championship. I know you're messing, and I'm just putting it back. Okay, stop it. It's not comparable, and anybody looking at the football on the field knows that it's not comparable.
Please remember what happens when your expectations get too high.
Oh, trust me, I'm there. I'm not getting hopeful until I see the national championship trophy being hoisted on the stage. I'm not.
Just want to make sure this is a safe place.
No, believe me, dude, you're talking to
the one rational Georgia fan
that exists. I know.
I've been there. I've done that. We're gonna talk about that later too. Anyway, so did I don't remember. Matt, do you have any thoughts on Kentucky, Louisville? I can't remember if we talked about this one.
The only thought I have is that Kentucky finally did the right thing yesterday, I think it was, and they signed, or it might have been this afternoon, and signed Stoops to a extension, which I'm sure they had to fork out some money because there've been a lot of programs that have been sniffing around him for the last 2 years.
Oh, yeah.
Again, Kentucky is in a good position right now. You just got to hope that they can capitalize on it.
And he wasn't getting paid poorly before. I think he was in the top 15 coach salaries.
No,
so
I don't think he was hurting.
Jesse, your thoughts on this one?
That was my thought.
That was your thought.
I was going to talk about the extension. Because otherwise this game is not super exciting.
How dare you? Yeah. It really wasn't much of a game. All right, and then speaking of not much of a game, Clemson, South Carolina, battle of the Palmetto State. Clemson wins 30-0. Matt was the only one to pick Clemson because it turns out I was indeed a crazy man, as I said last week.
I told y'all you got high on the supply when it came to South Carolina.
And I erroneously said to Jesse last week, you know what? If there was any time that would be a great time to go to a South Carolina Clemson game, it would be right now. Which, I mean, if you're a Clemson fan, it would have been a great one to go to, I suppose. But yeah, it wasn't meant to be. I thought that there was the potential there. I mean, we've seen Clemson be down all year, and we've seen South Carolina play better than we thought. So perhaps things were a little bit overhyped. But I don't know, Jesse, what were your thoughts?
I believed too soon. I got too excited. When someone beats Auburn, I get excited. Just sue me. But they're still bowl eligible, so it's okay.
Yep, it's true.
Hold on to that, guys.
Everybody's bowl eligible this season.
Well, not everybody.
Not everybody.
Oh, sorry.
But consolation prize, they're in Nashville. Anyway, Matt.
Always.
Matt, your thoughts?
What do you? I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, they were down almost from the beginning.
I told y'all that there's no way Carolina was going to win this ball game. Clemson's down this year, but they're still Clemson. And South Carolina is looking better, but not there yet. Not there yet.
Yeah, they got down early in this one, and they were just fighting from behind the whole time. It was not good. So, all right. Well, that does it for Rivalry Week. Current pick'em standings. If you heard, Matt got a ton of them this week. I'm still in the lead, barely, with 36. Matt has 34. Jesse has 32. So we're all right there now. So we shall see. And we're also getting into the mix. We're also getting into games that are worth more points too. So you never know. All right, let's go ahead and get into the news of the week.
Here's the news.
All right, our first item is in a stunning move. Lincoln Riley ditches both Oklahoma and LSU for USC. That's right. He's going to SoCal to hang out down there. The first thought was, man, Lincoln Riley really does not want to play in the SEC, does he?
No.
That's honestly what I was thinking. ESPN guys were talking. They were like, "Oh yeah, it's a great fit," and I get that. I mean, I think for the personality and for the brand down there, Lincoln Riley is probably is a good fit. But I think he could also see that looming too, and I think he didn't really want any part of it. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I mean, yeah, it's tough to go into the SEC, obviously. And also with a school like LSU, there's a lot going on there right now. You know, Coach Orgeron is still coaching there. They have been doing poorly this season and last season. So maybe don't want to go into there. And I mean, Lincoln Riley's a young guy. He wants to go hang. I mean, yeah, I know he's like got a family, but he's still a really young guy. He wants to go hang out in LA. I get it, I guess. But also the competition over there is more easily defeatable. You want to stay on top. He's such a recognizable name after what he's done with quarterbacks there at Oklahoma. So he still wants to start to trend upward. You're not going to go somewhere that you're going to struggle for a couple of years. You want to go somewhere you can still pull out some wins, and USC is probably the better fit than LSU.
Yeah, that's a good point. And, you know, nobody is really, since the Pete Carroll USC days, nobody's really stepped up. I mean, you could say Oregon to a certain extent out there, but nobody's really stepped up and been as dominant as they were back then. So that conference apparently is dependent on USC's success. So, Matt, what do you think?
2017, 12 wins. 2018, 12 wins. 2019, 12 wins. 2029 wins. 2021, 10 wins. Why in the blue hell are you leaving Oklahoma to go to USC? I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me. If you don't want, I mean, I get they're paying them, but why? It doesn't make any sense to me at all. Like, it's like, I would get it if you were going somewhere, like if you were like at a smaller school, or if you were somewhere else and you were taking the step up, like if you were like UCF and then you went to Tennessee, yeah, sure, that makes sense. But to leave Oklahoma when you're winning, I don't get it. And I get people get paid, and I understand that, but boy, I bet Lincoln Riley is just, that's a bad name in Oklahoma right now. By the way, did you know he named his dogs Boomer and Sooner?
Oh.
So he's going to have to deal with that for the next, 10 to 12 years, 15 years, however long.
That's awkward.
It's awful. And if I'm an Oklahoma fan and I actually work with one, she's right across the hallway from me, and I saw her on Monday, I was like, what do you make of this? And she's like, we feel like we've been stabbed in the back. And I was like, well, now you know how Tennessee felt when Lane Kiffin left in the middle of the night. By the way, if
USC.
Exactly, if the dominoes fall, now listen to me now. If the dominoes fall and Heupel ends up going back to Oklahoma, I will never forgive USC for anything ever again. I already don't like that school to begin with because of Pete Carroll and that Matt Bush and all that, Matt Leinart and Reggie Bush stuff in the early 2000s. But if that's the way we're going to play things, I don't want nothing to do with USC. I hope it slips into the ocean. So, by the way, about the Heupel connection, Josh Heupel played quarterback at University of Oklahoma. He
champion.
He won a national championship there with Stoops in 2000, was it?
I think it was 2000.
I think he was the backup behind Jason White, if I remember correctly. I don't think he started. Either way, there is a connection to Oklahoma, but let's also remember that Heupel came up through the Oklahoma coaching ranks. It was the offense coordinator there before his trip to UCF. Why did he leave Oklahoma? Because Bob Stoops fired him because the offensive production that year wasn't very good. So they canned him. So I don't think that Heupel would go back. Heupel on record today on the Eric Ainge show, who's a former Tennessee quarterback who does the show with a podcast, said that he has the way he sounded, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but the way he was talking, it sounded like he had no intention of leaving Tennessee anytime soon. Now, that being said, we have heard that sort of talk before. I'm both confident and nervous. It's really weird. Like, I feel like, there's no chance Heupel leaves. But on the other side, I'm having trouble breathing.
Because you've been burned before.
Convinced he's going to go. Right. It's an abusive relationship, my relationship with the University of Tennessee. I've been beat a lot. So I don't know where I'm at. Like, it oscillates back and forth. Like, one minute I'm fine. The next minute I'm like, he's leaving, and this is going to be awful, and it's going to be it's going to be Derek Dooley all over again. And I just
has some cool pants.
And his pressers were kind of interesting. They're coming. Anyway, that's where I'm at right now with the whole Lincoln Riley thing. Whatever, dude. Have fun. I hope USC fires him in 2 years on tarmac like they did Lincoln.
He was clever in some of his responses. They were talking to him about LSU because everybody just assumed he was going to LSU, and he was like, "Look, I can tell you, I will not be the next head coach for LSU." And he wasn't lying.
He wasn't lying.
So,
he could have also clarified that he won't be the next head coach for Oklahoma, but
he did not. Yeah.
And by the way, I think Oklahoma in their Oklahoma State game, my Oklahoma coworker told me that, there were definitely signs that they had not been prepped properly. And now we know why.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have an idea of what exactly happened there. And apparently the players had no idea this was going on. No.
Apparently they felt kind of ditched by some of those tweets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and as we mentioned earlier, but Spencer Rattler, the quarterback for Oklahoma, has now entered the transfer portal.
Right.
And their recruiting class fell apart after this came out. They lost the number one quarterback. They lost the number 3 wide receiver. They lost the number 6 running back, I think. Like, their 2022 recruiting class got gutted.
Yeah. So they're going to be scrambling. They're going to have to make a home run hire. I think it's not going to be like well, let's try this guy out from a group of 5 school or something. I think it's going to have to be a big name.
Yeah.
We'll see. All right. Next in the coaching carousel, Florida hires Billy Napier from Louisiana. So here's an interesting. So we have a few fan comments about the hiring. Is he going to work out? Some of these people agree that he will. Some people believe that Florida will be back to mediocre. But here's an interesting thought from Mick Kirkwood. He said, Clemson fired him because their offense got worse while he was there. Florida's desperate. So that's interesting. I did not know that about his history. And so that's interesting to know that he has kind of had a chance on a big spotlight, granted, as in a little bit a different role, but getting fired because the offense wasn't good there. So that'll be interesting. Matt, what are your thoughts on this? You had a bit of a chuckle when we said that.
When you look at Napier's coaching record, like where he's been, he spent some time at Clemson. He's been at Alabama as an analyst. He was at Colorado State. He was at Florida State. He's been around programs that win. He took over at Louisiana in 2018. He's got a 39-12 record. They've won 5 conference championships while he was head coach. That's great. Does that mean that's going to translate to the SEC? I don't know. We've seen what happens in the past when we have these, successful, and I hate to use the word mid-major, but these smaller schools come in, and those names don't usually pan out. Like, look at Drinky came out of Appalachian State. He hasn't set the world on fire. A certain coach that was at the University of Tennessee came out of Cincinnati, and he had a little bit of success before he completely gutted and destroyed my football team. There have been a couple of other instances that don't come to mind off the top of my head, but is it a home run hit? I don't know. If I was going to put this in baseball terms, I'd probably say this is a double. You put yourself in a good position to score. Now, whether the rest of the, if you're going to get any help on that, it's a completely different ballgame. I don't know how it's going to work out. I'm not crazy about the hire. I feel like Florida had to have a home run here, and I don't feel like Billy Napier was it.
Incidentally, who would be the perfect replacement for him at Louisiana?
Who?
Coach O. He's a Louisiana boy. He could be a raging Cajun. How amazing would that be? It's perfect.
Oh, I love that. That would be storybook, wouldn't it?
That'd be so sweet.
They would let him run that program however he wanted.
You know it. Jesse, what are your thoughts on Napier to Florida?
I feel like they felt in the past with Mullen that they got their home run hire, their big name coming from Mississippi State. He was an alum. Like, they thought they had it in the bag, and it has not panned out the way that they anticipated. They're looking at Arkansas, getting someone who wasn't even a coordinator, and they're like, all right, who can we get? And they're trying to go more small ball on this one. So We'll see. I don't have enough of an opinion of Billy Napier to make some poignant analytical, thing here, but we'll see.
Yeah, and granted, he's been around big programs before, but obviously this is a different, much different role. So I agree with you. Jury's out. We'll see how that translates. And then next on our coaching carousel, LSU hires Brian Kelly, which I have no idea how I feel about this. Mind blown. When they said that, I was like, wait, is this a typo? Again, we had some fan or listener feedback on here. Some people said he'll do better than average, not sold on him winning. Here's one, not sure why he would want to go head to head with Bama. That's an interesting thought. So he comes from Notre Dame.
Season.
Yeah, coming down to LSU and facing Bama every year. And then Mick says, I don't believe LSU had a coaching issue. He thinks it's a desperate team doing a desperate thing. Jesse, what are your thoughts on Brian Kelly to LSU?
What a different place to play. Notre Dame to LSU. What, just starkly different. I cannot wait. I am not as surprised as I think a lot of people are. I didn't necessarily think Brian Kelly was, on their radar, but for him to make a move to the SEC, I think it makes sense. I think what he has just said to everybody that is at Notre Dame or roots for Notre Dame is he does not think they can win a national championship, and he's about to go somewhere that he thinks there's a caliber and a conference that will do that. I think he is saying that without a conference, Notre Dame ain't going back anytime soon, and he's going to go to a Power 5 conference. And the opening at LSU, too sweet. We know they have the money. We know that they have a very supportive fan base that travels really well. It's a fun environment if you're a Tiger to play in. I I think it's going to be so much fun, but what a culture shock it's about to be.
Yeah. Well, they're stoked about him down there. I've seen all the montages they've put together of how excited they are of him bringing.
It's going to be a rude awakening, though. It's not going to be easy. He is officially coming to a conference after being not in a conference for a very long time. I think he's nice. I was able to be at the Music City Bowl between Notre Dame and LSU in Nashville several years ago.
Nice.
I believe probably when I was a junior. And was able to go to the press conferences and everything and cover it from a video perspective. He was lovely. A great interview. But now that I'm thinking about it, it's funny that it was against LSU.
Right.
But it should be a good time.
Well, a culture shock, not just for Brian Kelly, but it's got to be a culture shock for the players too. Can you imagine going from Coach O in the locker room to Brian Kelly in the locker room? It's got to be
absolutely not.
As you said, completely 180. Matt, what are your thoughts on this hire?
The coaching carousel every year tends to be a little wacky. It tends to be a little ridiculous. But I feel like we've taken the carousel and we've put nuclear weapons on it and we've spun that thing into the sun, because I don't know what the heck is happening now. When I got news that this happened, I'm like, what? What? Chip Kelly's going to what? Like I don't understand what these coaches are doing. I don't understand it. I get that things are going on behind the scenes and what have you, but where's the breaking point in this? Like, we're paying these guys all this money. And when I say we, I don't mean us. I mean these schools. I feel like it's like a bubble, and that bubble's going to keep getting bigger and bigger. That bubble's got to pop at some point. And the question is, what's that going to do to the sport when it finally does pop? If you've got guys that are leaving, CFP contenders to go to other CFP contenders, and they're just moving around, it's just so weird. Like, I don't understand the gist of it. Like, it's so strange.
It's kind of like that circle of friends in like high school where everybody dated each other and you all know each other. And it's just kind of, it's weird. It's awkward, but it is what it is at the same time. It's just kind of like, whatever. Yep. Although I do know that apparently he had been testing the waters. I saw a verified, it was I think a reporter for Florida, or somebody from Florida, said that they have a report that his people reached out to Florida as well.
He was in the mix before they hired Mullen, I think, too, wasn't he? I seem to remember his name being.
I don't remember.
I'm not sure, but definitely in this opening, he was interested as well. So interesting. I know it's just like you said, it's kind of one of those deals where you hear it for the first time, and you're like, well, I'm not sure if that's a good fit, but we'll see.
SEC Media Days, gonna be fun.
Yeah. And then as we talked, Kentucky gives Mark Stoops an extension through the 2027 season, so he'll be there a while. Kudos to Mark. It's well earned, building a program up there and not just a basketball school any longer. So let's go ahead and talk about the CFP rankings, which just dropped a couple hours ago. Number 1, Georgia, that stays the same. Number 2 is Michigan. Michigan's jumped up with that big win over Ohio State last weekend.
Go Blue.
So funny.
And then number 3, Alabama. That's also the same as last week. Cincinnati at number 4. Number 5, Oklahoma State. Number 6, Notre Dame. Number 7, Ohio State. Number 8, Ole Miss. They move up 1 to number 8. And then number 9, Baylor. Number 10, Oregon. Arkansas is number 22. They've moved up 3. Kentucky is number 23. They were not ranked last week. And then number 25 is Texas A&M. They dropped 10 spots after that win last weekend. So that is all the SEC teams there on the back end of the rankings. So do you guys have any thoughts on that? Are you disturbed by any of these? Any thoughts?
I guess I was wrong about the committee leaving in Cincinnati.
They're biding their time. Because if Oklahoma State comes out and buries, who are they playing? They playing Baylor.
Baylor, yes.
In the Big 12 championship. If they come out and bury Baylor, you can't take an undefeated Cincinnati team over a one-loss Oklahoma State team when they're
that would honestly be
that would be ridiculous.
Even more depressing than last year, because last year they wanted to get in the top 4 and they just didn't. If Oklahoma State beats Baylor and since he's sitting at 4 and then all of a sudden at the last CFP ranking they get taken out, that's just worse than not being ranked at all.
Right. Well, here's going to be absolute chaos if, let's say, the following works out. Let's just say that Georgia beats Alabama on Saturday. Michigan loses to Iowa in the Big Ten championship.
It could happen.
Cincinnati loses their championship to Houston, right? That's who they're playing.
Mm-hmm.
You got basically 3 spots open right there. And that's highly likely. All of that is highly likely. It's not just some kind of, ooh, what if? I don't know. You think, gosh, Oklahoma State could slide in, definitely. Notre Dame, gosh, it sounds so stupid.
That would be the most ridiculous thing ever.
I'd be so annoyed.
I do know that the committee, it's in the protocol or whatever to consider that a head coach has left as well when they're making their considerations. So there's that too for Notre Dame. I don't know. Obviously a lot of this stuff's going to work itself out next weekend. I don't know that I particularly have an issue with any of this. I understand why they jumped Michigan. They didn't just beat Ohio State. They crushed them.
Yeah.
And that was unexpected. So
in the snow.
Yeah.
That was a great game. I listened to that game on the way back from Tennessee on Saturday, and it is a good game. It made me happy to hear Ohio State lose.
Yeah. Well, that's obviously the first time Harbaugh's won. I think the first time in like 8 years, right? The Michigan's won.
Yeah, that's the first time. That's the first time they beat them in a long time.
Yeah.
By the way, and y'all are gonna hate me for this.
What's that?
Did you buy a pair of khaki pants?
No. Well, I have khaki pants. I'm a teacher.
You ate steak with milk?
If God no. If the Final Four for the CFP comes down to Georgia, Michigan, let's say Cincinnati, and Oklahoma State. Let's say it's those 4. I'm gonna have to pull for Michigan because I cannot abide.
You
I was
serious?
gonna pull for Cincinnati. I was gonna pull for Cincinnati.
No, I'm not gonna pull for Cincy. No, bump that. And I might pull for Oklahoma State just because they're orange. But of the 4,
no, because Mike Gundy has a great mullet.
It's a great mullet.
That's Mike Gundy's. Tennessee has their own thing with Mike Gundy. I'm not going to talk about that.
Ain't true.
Yeah. But I might have to pull for Harbaugh and the Wolverines if they make it in the top 4.
I don't think you're feeling okay.
I'm feeling fine. I can't abide a Georgia national championship.
That seems really petty, Matt.
It's incredibly petty. It's so petty. But your fan base has done this to me, Wes. 15 years ago, if Georgia won something, I'd be like, oh, great. Okay, cool. I wouldn't have cared. But now I care. And I don't want them anywhere near a national championship. I'm sorry. I feel bad for you. You're the only Georgia fan whose opinion I care about. I want you to be happy. I wish to God you were like a Ole Miss fan or something. Then we wouldn't have this problem.
Well, I appreciate that. I don't know. Yeah. You can't let all the crazies, because there's good ones out there. Just because you haven't met them, every fan base has their crazies.
No. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the fact that I don't want to listen to people bark about a national championship for the next, I don't know, 45 years, because that's what they did the last one y'all won in 1980. So
yeah. Alrighty then.
I don't know where I stand on this.
I am bitter. I'm incredibly bitter. I'll be the first person to say that. I have been bitter since daggum David Green hit what's his name in the end zone with a hobnail boot. Yes, I have been petty since that point. I was fine with Georgia.
I don't know where I stand on this issue, to be honest. A lot of me is inclined to agree with Matt, not about Michigan.
Thank you.
It feels wrong.
Do you know how many times I have pulled for a Bama team that I did not like at all, just so the SEC could win?
I know. And Wes, I love you. And Jack Lunam, I love you. But I just, I don't know. We're not there yet. I don't have to make that decision right now. I don't.
There are several schools in the SEC that I will not pull for under any circumstances.
Now that said,
it used to just be Florida. Georgia is in that group now too.
Looking at you, Auburn.
I was gonna say I may have pulled for Oregon over Auburn. Not that
I wore green.
Yeah.
I wore green.
But that's been a long time ago. But yeah.
I laughed in 2013 when they lost.
Oh boy. We
all have our crosses to bear. Leave me alone.
That's true. All right. Well, here real quick, here's a few other conference championships coming up Saturday to watch. Baylor, as we said, Baylor's Oklahoma State, Big 12. That is noon on ABC. Houston in the American Conference versus Cincinnati. That is 4 p.m. on ABC. They will be worth watching from the standpoint they could affect the playoff picture, not because we like these teams, but Michigan or against Iowa. That's the Big Ten. That's 8 o'clock on Fox, so that'll be the late one. I'm not sure if any other championship games have playoff implications, possibly, but these definitely will. So, all right. Speaking of
go blue.
What?
Go blue.
Oh gosh.
I'm gonna have steak and milk on Saturday just to support.
I don't support that decision.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to call Jim Harbaugh tomorrow and be like, look, Coach, I'm with you. I got my khaki pants on.
Next thing we know, you're going to be circling the wagons. You're going to be doing Toughness Tuesday if you keep heading down this road, Matt. It's a dangerous game
where
playing.
Does it end, Matt?
I don't know. Listen, there was a time in my life for about 2.5 minutes where I thought about being a Michigan fan.
Oh,
but
man.
this is way back in the day. This is like 1994. So I was also 10. So
gotcha.
You do with that what you will.
You didn't know any better. It's okay.
Yeah,
playing with fire, Matt.
Believe it or not, there are pictures of me with an Auburn hat somewhere in my mom's house. There are pictures of me with an Auburn.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure I did own a Georgia hat at one point.
Wow, I can't believe you're saying all this on the air.
This was decades ago. This was a long time ago.
Look at little baby Matt with his Auburn hat on, watching his Baby Einstein videos. Don't even know how to talk yet.
Oh my God.
All right. Well, speaking of playoff implications, let's talk about the upcoming games for this week.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble.
All right, I don't know if I'm ready for this game because, as we've talked before, I've been hurt many times when it comes to this matchup. Look, Georgia's defense probably the best in the country. However, if we watched Bryce Young this year, if you give him time, he will pick you apart. To me, this is the key for this game because front seven for Georgia has been stout all year. Secondary hasn't been bad, but again, not necessarily tested because the front seven has been so strong. It's not like they've even had a chance to be burned. The pressure is there, and so there's that. So yeah, I think we've got to not give him time to survey the field back there. We got to disguise coverages. We got to blitz. And bring the house. I mean, that's what Derek Mason did last week, basically. He's just bring the house until they didn't, and then it didn't work. So that said, I've been tricked into watching this movie many times, and I've been tricked into thinking that it will end differently. Okay, I'm not going to let it happen. This is not going to happen this time. Okay, so I'm done with this. Look, also, I know, don't think I haven't thought about this. The SEC is thinking about that extra screen time, the extra money, if two teams make it to the college football playoff. So I hope there's no shenanigans. I hope we play well enough to where that's not even like an issue. Look, we've talked about how SEC officiating crews have been terrible this year anyway. I expect to see some of that, okay? It's probably not going to be anything different. Bad calls for many teams. I want us to play well, like I said, so that's not even a factor. Georgia fans, please do not hate me, okay? I hope this is not how it goes. This pick is solely to reverse the bad juju that has accumulated over the years. Every time I do this, bad things happen. So trust me, this is only to reverse the juju. I'm going to go with Bama, 28-24.
You really think Bama's offense is going to put 28 points on the defense?
Matt, what did I just say?
Okay. All right. Okay. Touche. Well played. All right. Got it.
Oh man, just putting it out there. Jess, what do you got?
Okay, hold on. I got beep boop bop. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm changing things. I'm getting nervous. Okay. I don't know. I don't know what I think. I don't know. I have a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
I don't know what I think. So obviously Auburn gave me a mild heart attack. I was shaking. I was not okay. But sometimes for us, when we get embarrassed like that, we come back very strong. Our defense in that game was really great and looked better than they have in a while. I'm hoping our offense steps up as well. I'm hoping Brian Robinson is in that game and that we can establish somewhat of a run game. I'm hoping somebody decides to come out of the woodwork and become a right tackle. I'm hoping the offensive line wakes up. It's a lot of hope. I have a lot of hope, but I literally refuse to choose Georgia. I will never do it. I'm not going to do it ever. Don't ever ask me to do that. Bama, 19-17.
Okay. Honestly, I'm glad that Bama won the game against Auburn, because the last thing I want is for Bama to be like limping into the SEC championship. And, Bama traditionally doesn't lose 2 games in a row. So there's that too. So there's that.
Well, that was my thing too, is when all the Georgia fans were, hollering about Bama winning the Iron Bowl and saying how much they wanted us to lose. You do realize that if you have a Bama team that is, only lost 1 game, or even had we gone undefeated, and you get to play us and you beat us, that looks better for you. You should want to play us at our best, right, so that when you win, you truly feel vindicated. You don't want us to lose and then play us. If you want Bama, you should want Bama and not like 2-loss Bama.
Right.
Be smarter.
Took the words right out of my mouth. Matt, what do you got?
Logically, like the logical part of my brain is telling me that this game's going to be one of 2 ways. Either one, Bama's going to come out and expose Georgia's defense for the paper tiger that it may be, which is a possibility. We know that Georgia's defense has played exceptionally well this year. The teams that have managed to score points on them have not scored a lot of points, and I don't think that Bama will be able to score that many. The other way this game could go is complete domination by Georgia's defense and their offense not being able to get off the ground against Bama as well. I'm not sure how this is going to pan out. I have a sneaking suspicion what will probably happen is Georgia will come out hot in the first 2 quarters. We'll go into the half, say 17-10 or 17-3 or 17-10, something along those lines. Saban being and it pains me to say this, the master strategist at college football, will make adjustments in the second half. And I think Bama ends up winning this thing. He's going to tell him to go have fun. Bama ends up winning this thing in the 4th quarter, 2017.
If we could just do that with more than 2 minutes left, or like more than 24 seconds left, I would feel much better.
All right.
It's not about me.
And here's the thing. If all 3 of us are right with these scores, if you're talking about less than a touchdown difference between winning and losing for Georgia, if Georgia loses this game by less than 10 points, I still think they're the number 4 seed in the CFP. I don't think you can leave a one-loss
leave them out.
Georgia team out. The only way Georgia gets completely tossed out is if Bama comes out and puts like 45 points on them.
Right. And
which I don't think is going to happen.
From listening to the way they're talking, that may not even matter just because of the entire body of work and looking at the percentages. So I don't know.
I think Georgia gets in regardless of the outcome of this game.
Yeah. But we don't want that. We want to get Bama out because we don't want them in the playoff because we know what happens when they manage to make it into the playoff.
I want to
say Jesse's going to disagree.
Right.
I would like them in the playoff.
I didn't mean like the collective we. I meant like the we.
Oh, I was like,
I told somebody at work today, I will take another Bama national championship to keep Georgia away from it.
Wow.
I'm sorry, Wes.
All right. Well, so we've all picked Bama. Georgia's actually a 6.5 point favorite in this one, which is interesting. That doesn't normally happen. So, 4:00 Saturday on CBS. Tune in, check it out. It will be interesting, I think, either way. All right. Well, appreciate you guys listening to this episode. If you guys would like to hit us up on email, please do so at pigskinsandpageantry@gmail.com. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/pigskinsandpageantry. We're on Twitter at PPSEC Podcast and Instagram at Pigskins and Pageantry. Don't forget we're available for download on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, and most podcasting apps for iPhone, Android, and other operating systems. Until next time, and that next time we'll know who's going to the college football playoff. Until then, this is Wes. Go Dogs.
Y'all just keep doing a pulse check on me throughout Saturday. If I don't answer, just pray it up. Thoughts and prayers, T's and P's, y'all. Roll Tide.
Y'all can talk about the SEC championship game all you want. I'm really only worried about Selection Sunday, so I know when my Vols are playing their bowl game because we going bowling, baby.
That's it.
Go Vols.